You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. Don't box I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Simple, dear, I'll still be here when you're gone. You gather souvenirs, but I will never be your pawn, your pawn, your pawn. My love was in
I know nobody watches TV ads, but I think those of us that push the 5 to 6 button necessary to never see a video ad are still a minority. Yep. Kamikaze, welcome. All right, folks. Before we get started, the usual disclaimers, folks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget, hit the follow button. If you're on the YouTube, hit the like button. Subscribe. Ari918, welcome. Michael Hasser, welcome. Just read. Okay, no problem. Thank you, I appreciate that. Don't forget, folks, you can also check out the merch store and join the Discord, folks, this Saturday. Is the official monthly movie night. We will be streaming the Nightmare the Nightmare Before Christmas. So join us on the Discord at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Alright, folks, let's blow through some of this stuff because we're going to make it a short stream today. Let's do it. Let's get started. I found the video. This is what BPCL was talking about.
For about the last week and a half, we have been told nothing from the corporate media other than the fact that, holy crap, the polls are tightening. It's neck and neck.
It is.
Oh, yeah, tune in tomorrow to find out if it's still neck and neck. You know, kind of baiting people on with the horse race of American politics. And of course, that's not to say that the race is not close, because it is. But according to a massive new report from the New Republic, written by Greg Sargent and Michael Tomasky, two very well-respected, very reputable writers, the race may not actually be as close as most people think, or at least probably not as close as the corporate media would like you to think, because as they point out, again, in this massive 10-page report, there's a lot of right-wing pollsters flooding the market right now with data that is absolutely not reliable. And these polls from these right-wing media outlets and other right-wing pollsters that have just popped up over the last couple years, their results show that Donald Trump is absolutely crushing it. And when those get factored in to the polling averages from, you know, the New York Times, The Hill, Decision Desk, 538, Nate Silver, they skew the results further to the right, which of course would show a tightening race. Now, they point out in their piece that all of these polling aggregates claim that, hey, whoa, we're totally taking into account all of these right-wing pollsters and all of their skewed polls, but we're still counting them, right? We're still putting them in the average. We're just giving them less weight. Now, here's the thing about that. Giving them less weight when the data itself is already unreliable is dumb. because it still skews the polls in a way that they ought not be skewed. The weight you should be giving them is 0 by not counting them, because y'all know that their methods are not transparent, so you cannot verify any of their data, which, by the way, is actually a requirement for some of these aggregators, but they're doing it anyway. So why are you counting them? Why are you doing this? You are letting these little fly-by-night Republican pollsters, who, for the record, got everything wrong in 2022, as Sergeant Tomasky point out, and you're still giving them a seat at the table with your polling aggregates. Now, 2022, of course, is the example that they repeatedly refer to throughout this thing, because in 2022 is when we saw the emergence of all these dozens of right-wing pollsters putting out information showing Republicans were going to pick up 5 Senate seats. We were going to have the red wave. Remember that?
No.
All these polls from these right-wing outlets showed this, and those got counted in the aggregates.
Yeah, but I think like a lot of people, well, I think that like the data out there as well was kind of pointing that maybe the red wave that was supposed to happen wasn't going to manifest itself because of that road decision.
So what happened in 2022 is that those aggregates that showed Republicans running away with it, oops, didn't happen. Democrats retained control of the Senate when the aggregates showed Republicans would be picking up seats, which was wrong. And of course, the red wave 70 seats for Republicans didn't happen. A 70-seat advantage was what was initially predicted. And of course, that did shrink down. However, still 30 to 40 seats is what they predicted, and you got 10. Oops. Have you corrected for that, aggregates? Probably not, because you swore in 2022, just like you swore in 2020, just like you swore in 2016. Your methods are infallible. We have accounted for this. We have made up for it. We know that some things are bad and some things are good, so we weigh the good things more and the bad things less. But by counting the bad things at all, you're skewing your own results. Now, I am not giving you this story to tell you that Kamala Harris is crushing it and she's going to win in a landslide. That's not going to happen. All that matters from this data, from these polls, weighted or not, is this. Vote. Okay? That's the only thing that matters. You have to vote. If you do not vote, these polls mean nothing. If you do not exercise your rights, these polls are all pointless and wrong, right? So,
well, yeah, I mean, like the whole point of polls is to kind of get an idea of how things look, right? Like you're not expecting to get like a perfect result, but the whole point of polls and going through all of this in the at all is to just kind of get it's just to kind of get an idea of how things look. Is it going to be exact? No, probably not. Is it going to be skewed? Yeah. Are you going to have bad polls? Yeah. So while I understand and I agree that you shouldn't take polls as gospel, and that I agree that there's a lot of polls that, to be as short as possible, there's a lot of polls with bad data. There's a lot of polls with skewed data. So yeah, I agree with all that. But yeah, just to be clear, like the only reason we're paying attention to polls is just to get a feel for it, right? It's just to get a feel for how things are and how things can potentially go. Otherwise, you're not going to really have an idea, right? Like, obviously, the that matters at the end of the day is how the election goes, right? But you know, if a lot of the data is skewing in one is skewing in one trend, like I think it's more important to look at how the aggregate polls are trending rather than rather than just like looking at a bunch of polls at all, because like you could see how like the trend of polls go from like, okay, let's see how things look now, let's see how things look a couple weeks from now, a couple months from now, and look at that trend. Where is it going? Are we moving higher? Are we moving lower? Are we stagnating? Like what's the feel? What's the polls are one big vibe check, okay? Polls are one big vibe check, and with that you can kind of, you know, move with it. That's what polls are for. Always expect perfection so you can always be disappointed. Polls are not great data, but it's the only hint we have. That's exactly the point. It's a vibe check. It's one big vibe check, but like you kind of need to know what the vibe is, right? Like you kind of need to know what the vibe check is so you have an idea. Even if it's not even if it's not the most accurate.
Take from this what you will. But the one thing I want you to walk away with is ignore the polls and get to the polls to vote. If you haven't already, make sure you do it November 5th. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Well, no, I mean, like, I don't think you should ignore the polls entirely. But I don't think you should also just hinge on them being gospel. Sometimes they do tell us things that are actually useful, like in Texas and North Carolina, where some people would not have bothered. Polling is only there to fundraise for mainstream news companies, nor all the polls expect the worst case scenario and build up enough fear to go vote. Oh, man. I found this story very interesting because I too get very annoyed with how things work nowadays in the Internet of Things. Yeah.
Mind over this. Here's what's happening. I'm losing my mind over this. Here's what's happening. My partner, I got a new printer. It was an HP. It seemed fine. And I went to print like a packing label or something, and it just wouldn't print at all. And I couldn't, there's no message on my computer that was explaining it.
And the ink is completely full. I replaced it like last week.
And the reason it's not printing says payment method needs updating.
Cannot print with the installed cartridge. As you can see, this printer just printed fine.
That's infuriating.
Yeah,
I would be
definitely.
so mad if I'm trying to print something out.
I would have thrown that printer out the window. Okay. I like subscriptions for some things, but definitely some things you should be able to just buy and have. I think it should be like an option where it's suitable. But like, man, can you imagine? I would have definitely taken steps to get a refund. Seriously, can you imagine you're like buying a printer which is already like not cheap at all? I imagine this is for like an at-home office or something. So I imagine the printer is not cheap at all. And then to be told like, oh, dude, by the way, you need a subscription. You need a subscription to print.
my
Yes.
printer is
Or like you need a subscription for the app that you need to download to be able to use the device.
keeps printing out a page that says I can't
Exactly.
print. I won't print.
I won't print, exactly.
Maggie's brand new printer had been working normally for 6 months before it suddenly refused to print. She did some digging and realized HP had enrolled her in their ink subscription service called Instant Ink.
Get ready to ink differently with HP Instant Ink. Your printer anticipates when you're low and sends you the right ink right on time for less.
But Maggie's printer still had ink in it when it stopped working. It turns out that when your Instant Ink subscription expires, or if you cancel it, HP remotely kills your cartridges.
Which is like absurd. Which is absurd. Oh my god. like Microsoft Office, I just want to buy that once and use it until new version is so much better that I would have to upgrade. Right, something like that. Like you wouldn't need it. Like the way all the Adobe software went. That's such BS. Like I don't even have any of the Adobe software ever since they switched to a subscription program. Because to buy like the whole thing it's just a thing too much. Seeing strong dem polling only encourages dem leading people to stay home. The apathy is strong with the populace. Not wrong. I saw there's a car out there that you have to pay a subscription for the heated seats to work. The car is equipped with them. The car is paid for. You need to pay monthly to use the heated seats. Why do I want to say that? I think it's a BMW. Car heater. Yeah, it's a BMW. Yep, there it is. This is it. BMW drops the plan to charge a monthly fee for heated seats. Customers can now toast their tuition without paying a monthly subscription. Yeah, so they got... Okay, enough people got mad that they took it out, but this is what you were referencing. Enough people got mad so that they took it. They took it away, but yeah, it was a thing for a moment there. This was actually last year. That wasn't too long ago. Last time my husband bought ink for the printer, it was $70 when I returned it, and we used the library, which is still 10 cents a page. Nice. Did they stop it? Good. Greedy efforts. Yeah, indeed. They stopped it. Enough people got mad because that's so absurd. It already has the feature, dude. I'm buying a BMW. It's already a luxury car, right? Supposedly. And you're gonna really nickel and dime me for hot seats? Nah, fam. Get out of here. So yes, eventually they had to drop it because enough people got mad.
That's when I started Googling it and figuring out that's a problem other people were having.
The ink that you paid $122 some for, that's in your printer right now, you can't use that.
I have 2 full cartridges that I don't have access to because I canceled HP's Instant Ink monthly service that they want to fuck everybody with.
Subscriptions are so annoying and they're everywhere.
I hope there is some kind of something there, BPCL, for a class action suit, because that sounds a bit much, right? I don't know, maybe it's legal, who knows.
Everywhere these days. There are monthly fees to watch movies, listen to music, shop, play video games, water your plants, use your sewing machine, brush your teeth, turn on your lights, open your garage door, start up your car, use your fridge, your toaster, your water bottle.
Yeah.
There's so many subscriptions you probably
that would be a lawyer question.
Didn't notice that we made up 3 of these. And I bet you can't guess which ones. It's these 3.
Buying an expensive physical thing and then also having to keep paying for something every month. So it's just kind of frustrating.
After talking to Maggie, I started looking into all the ways that companies make us pay endlessly to keep using the stuff we already own. Over the past 10
Correct, Correct. Yeah, it's legal because we agreed to the TOS. We have to pay the HP monthly fee. Sheesh, not me. I couldn't do it. If I bought a printer, and I bought ink for it, and I was told I can't use it because I had to pay a subscription, I would lose my ish. We in serious reform in terms of use. It's a fundamental principle of law that you can't agree to something without knowing you're agreeing to it. It doesn't work like in the movies. It's in part to send you a free cartridge when you send the old one back. Yeah, but it's, if it was just something as simple as that you have elected to enroll in because you're getting a benefit from it, that's one thing. But to disable the current cartridge that is perfectly workable right now, or even the ability to disable a cartridge. That's perfectly fine. It's just not right. You're paying for the future cartridges. I got it. Hey, that's not a problem. I feel like that's fine. If I elect to have a program where, I send the old cartridge back and I get a new one, that's fair. And, or even make it so that, they'll send you a new one, they'll charge you for it, and when you send the old one, you get a credit for the next one or something like that. Whatever, you make it like that, that's fine. And no harm, no foul. Fine, you're getting a service that you elect into. Okay. But like to wirelessly disable the perfectly good cartridge when it's not out of ink yet, like oof. A key question for the courtroom would be: would even one person have purposely signed this if it was honestly honestly offered in good faith? It's blood-boiling, infuriating attempts to control every aspect of our lives and profit from everything we use beyond the initial purchase. That's the name of the game. But I mean, like, if it was like that, I would be fine with that, Wolfglen. If you wanna elect into a subscription program that gives you a perk like that, which is fine, but like you're paying ahead of time, which is how it's legal. Okay, gotcha. That's it. But like, how? Why are they then? Why are they then like able to like disable like cartridges that still work, or even new cartridges for that matter? Like the lady said she had 2 and she couldn't use them because she wasn't paying for the program. You know what I mean? Like that's the issue, because like, ink levels are just estimated based on printer settings. It's not possible to measure the ink level. In current cartridge, empty cartridges are not empty. Yeah, you can send it to me via whispers.
In years, businesses using the subscription model have been growing almost 4 times faster than traditional companies. Like most people, I thought subscriptions were just an annoying and frustrating cash grab by...
Also, default printer settings are set to use maximum ink. My first guess would be when you install your printer, can we sign you up for instant ink? It's checked by default or even required to use the printer at all and just printed on the box or something. Yeah, as Wolfglen pointed out, it's explained by purchasing the printer, but like, jeez, man.
Greedy corporations. And they are. But we're losing more than money. Subscriptions are actually changing our relationship to the stuff we use and rely on every day in a kind of dangerous way. Do you know how much you spend on subscriptions for the...
No, probably not. I would wager that if I actually took a look, because like everything is a freaking subscription, man. Like Amazon is a subscription, HBO Max within Amazon is a subscription within the subscription, which is
average American, it's nearly $300 a month. Let me guess, you're thinking there's no way you spend that
I love
much.
this guy. This guy's funny. Hold on. I love this guy. This guy's funny.
Would you like a membership for $6.99?
$6.99. Do you have any good shows?
We have shows.
Any good ones?
Of course.
Great.
But we will cancel them for some reason.
That's not fair.
I know, it sucks.
Do you have any ad interruptions? I hate ads.
We do have ads, but I can get rid of them for you.
Oh, thanks so much.
For $10.99 a month.
Okay, fine. Do you have good streaming quality?
4K HDR, baby.
Oh, okay. My roommate just watches on the iPad. He doesn't care, but like, I like 4K.
Oh, he can't watch on the iPad.
I know, right? How can you appreciate a show on a small screen?
No, the $10.99 plan supports 1 device only.
Which one supports 2 devices?
The $14.99.
Okay, I'll have that one.
But this one's only HD.
You just said 4K HDR.
That's 1 device, $10.99. 2 device, $14.99.
But back down to HD?
Correct.
4K, 2 devices, how much?
$17.99.
Okay, let me do that.
You got it, man. So 1 4K HDR, 2 device plan with ads?
No, we said no ads.
Oh, right. So you want the $22.99 plan?
Mother...
true.
Come check out how you can edit your end screens, cards, and descriptions of all of your videos with just the click of a button.
I spend about $91 a month on subs. I got Amazon, 2 Patreons, a Twitch, a Hulu, a Netflix, a Paramount. I think that's it. Oh, man.
While the average American also underestimates their monthly subscription bill by at least $100, so maybe check again. Point is, people are sick and tired of subscriptions. I'm assuming. I couldn't actually read the article. But this business model isn't new. It's been around since at least the 15th century with the invention of the printing press. Newspaper readers subscribed by writing their name underneath an agreement. Sub, under, scribe, write. The publisher earned customer loyalty and therefore a predictable, steady revenue by offering customers
Plus Disney. Absolutely no way I'm off by 100 unless unless you're counting my utility bills. No, most it's an aggregate. Okay, there are some people that are pretty good at keeping track of what they're subscribed. I'm not one of those people. Okay, I'm pretty sure I couldn't name you every single thing I have subscribed. I can tell you. Have you seen Adam Conover's video about streaming Kill TV? No, but Adam Conover is pretty good. Plus Disney, and I got to have my Agatha. Is it a good show? I heard good things about it.
a convenience, extra value, or both. In this case, the latest issue delivered straight to their door.
Same.
It was a win-win. Media subscriptions were...
I think it's Marvel. I've heard very good things about it. I'm pretty sure Agatha is Marvel. It's Marvel.
Born in 1948, cable TV brought higher quality signals for a cheap monthly price. In 1997, Netflix extended that concept to DVDs, free delivery and no late fees. And when they launched their streaming service in 2007, eventually leading to, well, all this, that provided an even bigger value. Unlimited music, movies, and TV on demand that you don't have to lug around with you when you move.
Yeah.
This balance held through the 2000s and early 2010s. Subscriptions brought us free and fast delivery, an affordable way to wear design.
Yep. Gotcha. It's worth an Emmy. It's worth an Emmy. Oh man, then that means I gotta have it. I gotta watch it, I mean. And you said that's on Disney? Yeah, Disney's Marvel, right? So I'm pretty sure. Gotcha. I sent it. It's 20 minutes. So I don't know if you want to watch it on stream. No, I don't think I have time for that, but I got you right here. This is the link if you guys want to watch the Adam Conover one. Save it, because Adam Conover is pretty good. He does a lot of good in-depth stuff.
Designer clothing and cheap razor blades. But today, there's this new category of subscriptions where we're paying to keep using something that we already own. How did we get here? Well, it all started with Salesforce.
Each one of our pods is a multi-tenant cluster. This has really increased our ability to deliver.
Salesforce. I feel like I've seen that before. Salesforce. Huh.
Very high, reliable solution for our customers.
Don't worry, I'm not going to explain what Salesforce is, even though I totally could if I wanted to. All you need to know is that they make software. The important thing isn't what their product is, it's how they sold it. See, through the 90s and most of the early 2000s, if you wanted to buy software like Word or Photoshop, you'd buy a physical CD-ROM. You'd install it on your computer and use that as long as you liked. But the problem...
Man. Those bring me back. Okay. I remember these icons. I remember. I wonder if there's a way to like mod your Windows computer to make it look like old school. I kind of like the old Windows like aesthetic. Salesforce has a racist reputation. Why am I not surprised? Like I said, for some reason that name rings a bell somewhere deep in my consciousness. So I may have seen something somewhere regarding Salesforce at some point.
The problem for companies was that software is expensive to maintain. Software engineers are constantly fixing bugs and making security upgrades. Those days, tech was advancing so rapidly that every year or so they would also release new versions with tons of new features. Salesforce positioned themselves as the anti-software. No big upfront costs for software that will be obsolete in a few years. Just a small monthly fee and you'd always have the latest version. Software was no longer a product that you buy in a box, it was a service that you paid a monthly fee to use. It was a huge success. Salesforce went public in 2004 and was the top performing.
Yep, by an IBM ThinkPad with Windows 3.1. Salesforce is an account management system.
IPO of the year. Microsoft launched Office 365 in 2010 and saw revenue grow by nearly 70%. Adobe went subscription only with Creative Cloud in 2013.
Yeah, that's about like the time where I stopped even considering like doing Photoshop or any of that, which by the way would benefit me tremendously. Many people are saying if I had gotten into Photoshop 10 something years ago.
Subscriptions have grown 16 times since then, driving most of the $200 billion company's growth. Most people still consider Apple a products company, but lately, their fastest growing revenue stream is their $24 billion subscriptions unit, which grew 14% last year. Investors love software as a service, but where's the customer value? Today, Photoshop costs $263 a year, which is a cheaper upfront cost than the $700 you'd paid before. But in about 2.5 years, you'll exceed it. So what additional value are you getting for that increased cost? Not much. The software isn't really improving that drastically anymore, maybe a new feature or two. Word also hasn't evolved that much since 2006, except for a few stylistic.
Hey, bring my boy Clippy back. Bring my boy Clippy back. Clip it, sorry.
Changes.
Over time, companies have seen this as a new way to squeeze a little bit of extra money out of consumers.
Then subscriptions crawled out of our screens into our physical stuff and became almost unavoidable.
It became really cheap to introduce network connectivity and embedded software into devices. So we see all sorts of things that don't really need software, that don't really need a Wi-Fi connection, that now have them.
When manufacturers advertise smart products, the software is a selling point. They promise all sorts of flashy features. But smart appliances have shorter lifespans than regular dumb ones, and it turns out people don't really even use all those fancy features.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not getting a smart fridge or anything like that. Listen, if my fridge stops working because I stopped paying a subscription, I'm gonna lose my ish, okay? So no, I'm not gonna... No, thank you. I just have a regular fridge. I'm good with that.
Plus, software gets buggy and it needs a lot of maintenance.
My car would not let me inside.
There is a software bug, I think, with the latest update.
I can't even get out the vehicle. Y'all can hear this motherfucking car.
A lot of times, software actually makes our stuff less safe, less durable, and weirdly hostile.
I'm in fine working order, giving these people exactly what they need.
Software is really the key tool that gives companies like the functional ability to control how we interact with an object.
These cartridges have a specific chip on them that is like communicating to HP. So if at any point it loses network connection, it won't print. Or if it recognizes that your payment method with your HP account has lapsed, then it won't print.
This tactic is called software tethering, and it shows up all over the place. Car manufacturers have started trying to lock certain features behind a paywall.
BMW will let you freeze your butt off unless you pay them a subscription.
$18 a month for heated seats. That's actually one of the craziest things I ever heard.
Tesla owners have to pay $10 a month to gain access to all of their cars' navigation and streaming features.
Yeah, which, as we just went over, It didn't sit well with the public, so they took that off.
To have to pay extra for something that the car is in the car is ridiculous.
And Mercedes locked faster acceleration behind a $1,200 yearly subscription, along with a bunch of other stuff.
Unlocking the dash cam will cost you an extra $16 a month. Remote starting this will cost
Whew. Oh man, these people are playing.
you an extra $35 a year. If your Mercedes gets stolen, they will help you find it, but for $2 a month.
You bought that heated seat. You bought those components. They put that into the price of the vehicle, and now they're charging you for the right to use it.
A brand new electric vehicle, you can't even access the damn thing. This is 2022, people. This is what the future looks like.
Imagine if we charge you for gasoline, then charge you for the right to burn it in your engine.
This is greed. I don't care. Oh no, it's capital. This is greed.
It's the kind of stuff that just makes you want to take a giant dump on someone's head.
It's not just cars. This new smart bassinet,
Preferably on the CEO's car.
the Aura Ring, Hatch alarm clock, Ring camera, these are all expensive products that don't work fully or at all without a subscription.
Those kinds of subscription offerings aren't adding new value, they're just imposing a tax on using the things that we feel like we've already paid for.
This clear lack of customer value is also why so many streamers and subscription services have to use deceptive marketing practices to trick us into subscribing, like free trials that automatically become paid memberships and dark patterns that make it hard to cancel. Software tethering also allows companies to force us to use their expensive refills. GE put digital locks on some of their smart fridges, so you can only use their name brand water filters. Companies will encrypt anything: coffee pods, light bulbs, cat litter, and of course, printer ink. All so that we're forced to keep spending money with them. HP Instant Ink takes this strategy to the next level. They charge you based on how many pages you want to print, not how much ink you'll use. Maggie thought an ink subscription meant new ink cartridges on demand like Dollar Shave Club, but Instant Ink is more like a streaming service. Maggie doesn't own her cartridges any more than you own the movies on.
Yeah, see, like, I think that it should be a little bit more clear as to how that works, because as some of you have pointed out, I think it was Cognizant, you can't know exactly how much the ink on that is there. So they're going based off how many pages? Question mark. Tesla charges extra for expanded battery capacity with no additional hardware installation. That is absurd.
On Netflix, your access to them depends on a monthly payment. In other words, HP isn't selling you ink cartridges at all. It's renting them to you and charging you each time you use them, all enforced by software tethering.
It's not even like you're getting like unlimited use of your product that you have in your home. You're having to only use it a small amount. It's like I could just go down the street and print somewhere else or at the library where you have to pay a few cents.
Yeah.
Instead of like having one in my house that I have to pay for.
Maggie was kind of like, when I buy something and it comes with so many rules and restrictions, do I even own it? That's a tricky question. We're gonna come back to that. Subscription companies don't care how shitty our experience is as long as they make a profit. They'll even kill their own products if that's what it takes.
A few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of the name of the game, right? That's literally the name of the game. Exactly. Like, to be clear, like, customer experience, putting a solution to a problem out there in the world. Okay, the item itself is actually not even like, it is secondary to profit, right? How much profit is this item going to get me? And if I go with another item, would that item make me more profit? So again, it's not fundamentally about the item itself, really.
Nest was making a home automation hub called the Revolve. And one day they decided that they just didn't want to support this device anymore. And so they sent out an email to everybody that bought one of these things for $300, whatever it was, and said, hey, on May 24th, this thing just doesn't work anymore. We're turning them off.
Spotify did the same thing with their $90 device Car Thing less than 2 years after it went on the market, as did Juicero with its $400 juicer. And earlier this...
What? I didn't even know that was a thing.
This year, the electric car company Fisker filed for bankruptcy, which has left thousands of people who bought that car wondering if they'll still be able to drive it when the servers go down, or if they now own the world's most expensive paperweight.
In a world where your device isn't dependent on the servers that the manufacturer is maintaining, that's fine, right? If my toaster that I bought in 1995, if the company goes out of business, the toaster still works. Today, that is just not true anymore.
If you're a good coder, you might be able to figure out how to keep your bricked Juicero or Fisker running anyway. But you'd have to bypass the company's software restrictions, which is illegal under Section 1201 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA. The DMCA was passed in 1998 to prevent piracy.
Imagine getting hit with DMCA because you're trying to jailbreak your freaking electric car that you pay tens of thousands for, that no longer is completely fully functional. Amazing.
Piracy. No, the other piracy.
I love those ads.
To anything with a computer in it. In 1998, that meant like a DVD. But in 2024, that's almost everything we own. And companies use copyright as the legal covering to lock us out of our own stuff. There are exceptions for law enforcement and research, but not for someone who bought a $60,000 car, or for Maggie.
If I don't want to continue with Instant Ink, the ink cartridges are pretty much wasted. It's not like you can unsubscribe and keep using the ink.
Maggie's only option now is to buy new cartridges, official HP ones, of course.
I think the printer cost like $85, and then the new ink from HP is like $35 or $40, so it's about half the price of the printer just for one ink refill.
And that's exactly what HP intended. The CEO freely admits this.
Our goal was to reduce the number of what we call unprofitable customers, because every time a customer buys a printer, it's an investment for us. And if this customer doesn't print enough or doesn't use our supplies, it's a bad investment.
They're bad customers anyway if they're not using HP cartridges, because you haven't made any money on them yet.
Exactly.
So to recap, Salesforce made all software into a subscription, and then everything became software. Now companies don't have to earn our loyalty to get that predictable revenue. They can just force it with their software locks, and they're legally protected by our outdated copyright laws.
That, I think, has led to a really profound change, not just in the law, not just in our economy, but like in the way that society operates. It's really crucial that people have some degree of control over the devices that they rely on every day, right? Their phones, their cars.
Today, the balance of power is so out of whack that consumers and lawmakers are fighting back.
Now to a consumer alert about those pesky subscriptions. Today, the Federal Trade Commission issued what it calls the click to cancel rule.
Click to cancel basically means that if you click to subscribe, you should be able to click to cancel. And if companies don't comply with it, then we can go forward with civil penalties, which means that they'll be liable for thousands of dollars.
The law cracks down on free trials that charge you if you don't cancel on time, and subscriptions that automatically renew.
We're really trying to address that by requiring companies to disclose upfront the full set of requirements that will follow once you do sign up, and also make sure that users are not spending precious hours of their life navigating these archaic bureaucracies just to be able to stop being charged a monthly fee.
The FTC is also going after Adobe and Amazon for their shady subscription practices. And consumer protection groups want them to go after software tethering next. No more locking all the best features behind paywalls or surprise bricking. This consumer advocacy is
That's all subscriptions.
working. HP is phasing out Instant Ink, citing customer pushback, and public pressure also killed BMW heated seats and Keurig's coffee pods. But there's a more fundamental change that we need to start taking seriously. When you pay money for a product, that's yours now.
It's not a lease, it's not a monthly subscription. I pay you one time, I own that thing, right? And I get to behave as if I own that thing.
Yeah. Wow.
thing.
There's so much more to explore on this topic that we're actually going to put it into a second part to this video. We're going to look at why our stuff breaks more often and why it's so freaking expensive to fix your iPhone, your car, and all sorts of other products.
Mm-hmm. Because they need you. It's called the right to repair. They need you to go to their specific place so they can make a profit off that as well. It's planned obsolescence, right? It's the same reason as why like Apple comes up with like new dongles every other year until they were forced by the European Union to standardize to USB-C.
It was about $150, $160, but my bill was almost $5,000.
And we're gonna dig into the bigger question Maggie raised with her printer. Do we even own the things we buy? Stay tuned for the answer in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching.
I'm definitely interested in that.
As you all know, I am a student in the field of political science. I have my bachelor's and master's degrees in political science, and as a result, I have been trained to assume that people don't make political decisions or vote based on stupidity or based on malice. They vote because as rational actors, they are making a decision that they genuinely believe is in their own best interest, even if I disagree with it, even if it is not in their best interest. So if somebody, for example, votes based on crime, it's not because they're stupid. It's because they have been brainwashed and trained to think that the crime rates are higher than they are, even though they're going down, because they watch local news and their perception of reality is skewed by that. And fear is the motivating factor that makes them cast a vote for a tough on crime Republican because they think that's in their best interest. So you can try to rationalize their decisions while not justifying them. But sometimes you can't really apply rationale or logic to things that Americans do. And it creates a bit of cognitive dissonance in people like myself who don't want to believe the worst about the people I share a country with. I don't want to believe that the people at the grocery store and my neighbors have bad political views because they're bad people. I want to ascribe their odious political beliefs to something else and essentially cleanse them of the bad votes that they make or the bad political ideas that they hold. But sometimes you just can't do that.
I would argue that it doesn't matter. Right? I would argue it doesn't matter because like it may be true or it may not be. I don't know. I'm not here to play mind reader. But it may be true that Karen down the street is not like a Sikh-heiling fascist, but she'll vote for one. So what difference does it make if whether or not she's actually like a far right? What difference does it make if she's a far right lunatic if she's willing to vote for the party that is filled with far right lunatics and help them get into power? Like, what difference does it make if whether or not she actually like deep down in her heart of hearts believes in that? Right? Like she's still facilitating these people into power. Does that make sense? People don't want to think, they want to feel, and they insist on feeling good.
Sometimes you've got to call it like it is. And this poll that came out from the Public Religion Research Institute has brought me to the conclusion that maybe some people are just bad. Maybe a large percentage of the American population, they're just bad people. Because I feel like there are some things that you can explain, most things you can explain and chalk it up to propaganda or misinformation or ignorance. But some things are so clear that I don't think that you can really make excuses for it. So this poll from the Public Religion Research Institute surveyed 5,352 U.S. adults between August 16th and September 4th, and they were asked whether or not they support rounding up undocumented immigrants and putting them into militarized camps. That's the wording, and as you can see,
like that's there's really like no rounding up a group of people and putting them in camps has never been a good guys thing, right? It doesn't matter who that other group is. It doesn't matter what group that is. Rounding up people and putting them into camps has never been the thing that the good guys do, right? Oh boy. Whew.
47% of the American population supports that. Let's pause for a moment. 47%. Half the country essentially supports a Gestapo-like police force going door to door, rounding up immigrants and placing them in militarized camps. What's the excuse there? What's the excuse? How do we rationalize this? Even if you think that Republicans are right and Fox News is correct and immigrants are the cause of all of your problems.
Well, that's it, right? Like that's exactly the explanation right there. There it is, right? You know, you've allowed yourself, okay? Because it's 2024, man. The information is there, okay? The information is there. Okay, the reason why you're allowing yourself to be propagandized by this is because it's feeding into your biases, right? Like that's why you're allowing yourself to believe that immigrants are the cause of your economic and culture, whatever it is that you want to blame immigrants for, your economic stress or whatever. That's why, because you already have these preconceived biases, and you're like, oh, there it is. There, you know what? That guy is right. I've been looking for that answer this whole time, and there it is. Because you know what? There's people who suffer. Who there's millions and tens of millions of people who are under economic stress and don't go to immigrants as the problem, right? And just kind of flowing off that same example. There's tens of millions of people that know that they're under economic stress, but they don't go like, oh shoot, it's obviously the brown people. That's like, dude, the only reason why this works is because you're allowing yourself to be propagandized, and the only reason that's happening is because you're looking for the justification to reinforce your already preconceived biases. That's what's happening here. You know, make no mistake about it. Racism, exactly. The American public is no longer sapient.
This is the solution? You think this is a proportional response?
To them, yeah. They've been looking for this answer for, you know, whatever, X amount of time. Yeah, if you've been told that your country is under an invasion, right? And the reason why this country is destroyed, the reason why you can't afford whatever, the reason why you're in the position that you're in is because of these others, right? Then, like, yeah, man, it's just a skip and a hop before you, like, throw them in camps. I don't care. Sound familiar? I've seen that story before. I've seen that story before.
To immigrants? Sure, you can say that they mistakenly believe that immigrants are responsible for a disproportionate amount of crime, even though statistically immigrants commit far less crime than actual citizens. You can say it's propaganda and they're not as bad as this poll leads us to believe, but I'm sorry. If you believe this, you are a fucked up person.
But it doesn't matter because they'll still they'll still vote in the party that will if allowed to would do this, right? Like Trump is running on this right now. Trump is running on this right now. Trump is boasting about implementing a mass roundup and deportation of immigrants, right? Legal or otherwise, right? As we saw with the Springfield comments that he's made. Trump is running on this, and they'll still vote for him, whether or not they believe that, like, oh, you know, obviously I don't want people in camps. Doesn't matter, dude. I don't care what your beliefs are in your hearts of hearts. It seems to me like you're okay with voting into power the party that is going to do, or that would under ideal circumstances do this for them. Does that make sense? The only minority responsible for bad economy is the wealthy. Exactly. He's popular with the racists, right? And like, if you are not a racist, but you are still voting Republican, then like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, it doesn't matter because you're fundamentally furthering the position of racist. You're furthering the positions of a fascist movement. Even if you're not a MAGA Republican and you're still a Republican, if you're still a Republican, a conservative that's voting Republican, but you don't consider yourself a MAGA Republican, to the extent that even exists, then like, what's the difference? You're still voting for this party. That's my argument.
No amount of brainwashing or propaganda can rationalize this.
This is it. Voters are casting their ballots. And now is your last.
Right? If a poll came out that's
because you're scared of the violent racists in your group. So leave. And if you're so scared of these violent racists that you can't stand, that you can't leave, that's a problem, dude. Sounds like man, history is just repeating itself, more or less.
Said, hey, do you support 99% Hitler over Kamala Harris? And 48% of Americans said that they support 99% Hitler. How do we rationalize that? Oh, well, Hitler would be better on the economy. Sometimes you just gotta call a spade a spade. Half the country is fucked up. They're fucked up in the head. And I can't rationalize this one, folks. Sorry, I can't rationalize it. Now let's get to some specifics here. So when you break it down by party affiliation, 79% of Republicans support this Nazi-like policy, 47% of independents support it, and 22% of Democrats support it. Now, that's a small number, but nearly a quarter of Democrats are A-OK with a Nazi-like policy when it comes to immigration.
Yeah, like, I mean, how do you look at this? The framing of the question, right? Like, how do you look at this framing and go, yeah, sure, I'm good. I'm good with this. Like, the framing of the question should already be giving you, like, red flags, right? Like, wait a minute. Would I support a policy that would round up a group of people and put them into militarized camps? No, man, that sounds like some Nazi shit. That sounds like some Nazi shit. I'm good on that. The Simulacra, welcome. 22% may be a small number, but it's not a small number. Yeah, it's almost a quarter. 1 in 4. It's just under a quarter. Almost 1 in 4. That's not even Nazi-like. The U.S. government did it at least once in the last 100 years. That's true. The internment camps.
Very, very cool. Now, breaking it down by religion and race, 75% of white evangelical Protestants support this Nazi-like policy. I mean, I don't even know why they're Christian when they're completely disregarding what the Bible says about immigrants. It's just ridiculous. But there's more. Axios reports, in addition, 51% of those surveyed support building a wall
Yep, that's right, the simulacra.
Along the U.S. border with Mexico, a 10-point jump since 2016 when the question was first asked. They continue, 52% of respondents said they favor allowing immigrants brought illegally to the U.S. as children to gain legal resident status, a 10-point decrease since the first time PRRI asked the question in 2018. So in short, Americans are just becoming more racist and intolerable of immigrants. And you can try to do the whole rationalization thing. I've done it for years. You can say, look, it's because Republicans are constantly fear-mongering about immigrants.
Right, but like my argument, if I was talking to Figueroa, my argument or my counterpoint would be that it doesn't matter. Build the wall races have Chinese wall envy. I would even go further. Like, I would even go a step further and say that it's not our job. It's not. It's. Let me rephrase that. It's not in our. We shouldn't waste energy trying to figure it out. We shouldn't waste energy and try to figure out what's in these people's minds, right? Because like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, rationalized, not rationalized, logical or not, it doesn't matter. These people are voting for a fascist movement, and there's tens of millions of them, and they are complicit by directly supporting this fascist movement. And it doesn't matter if they believe it in their hearts of hearts. It doesn't matter if the rationalization that they tell themselves is good or not. They still vote, and they still are okay with a party that has that they're still okay with a fascist party coming into power and running on platforms like mass deportation. They want a wall on the Mexican border so prominent you can see it unassisted on the surface of the Luna.
On top of that, Democrats haven't been providing a counter narrative, and they're now playing along with this idea that immigrants are bad and you have to close down the border, and they're championing that Republican border bill. You can say all of that.
Yeah, and like I just saw a tweet from like that account, Kamala Harris's wins on Twitter, where like they put a picture of like Trump's McDonald's stunt, and then like they put a picture of her like visiting the wall, taking care of business, because the brown people are coming, and Kamala's the one out there on the wall, and Donald Trump's serving French fries or whatever.
Really? But this question was worded so bluntly. Do you support rounding up undocumented immigrants and putting them into militarized camps? It doesn't get more clear than that. And even if you're not a student of history and you know nothing about World War II, or you don't know about American history and the way that we rounded up Japanese Americans.
Yeah, like, it doesn't, like, what part of that plan sounds good and okay? And also, again, it's 2024, right? It's 2024. Like, I'm sorry, there is no excuse. There is no excuse.
And place them in internment camps, even if you don't know any of that. For you to support this being done to another human being, there is no rationalization for that. You're just a bad fucking person. We have to be responsible as individuals sometimes and just accept maybe we're just shitty people. If you support this, you're a shitty person. I'm sorry. And listen, let's actually think this through. If you really support this, America, let's think through what this would actually look like in practice, because apparently you haven't thought it through. You just thought, fuck them. I don't want them in my country, so fuck them. But let's actually think through what this would look like in actuality.
Well, thinking isn't exactly the strong suit of a person that would support this in the first place. Does that make sense? Thinking isn't the strong suit of somebody who would support this anyway, so.
As NBC News reports, this would impact 1 out of 25 U.S. households that have a family member who is undocumented, and that's 130 million households in total. A large share of them are households with mixed immigration statuses, but we're talking about people who've been here on average for 16 years, and 3.4 million of them have young children. We're talking about people who have been here for a very long time, who are deeply entrenched within their communities. Their children go to our schools. So in order to actually pull off a mass deportation plan, you would have to have a Gestapo-like force go door to door. Now, this wouldn't just affect them. It would affect us. A lot of American citizens would get caught up in this, but we'll get to that later. What would it look like just for the people who are the targets here? Well, as Mother Jones reports, armed troops and out-of-state law enforcement would likely blitz into communities, knocking on doors, searching workplaces and homes, and arbitrarily interrogating and arresting suspected undocumented immigrants. The dragnet would almost certainly ensnare U.S. citizens too. They continue, not only would Trump's plan rip families and communities apart, but it also would have devastating effects for years to come, including on U.S. citizens who perhaps have overlooked how integral undocumented immigrants are to their everyday life.
Just mock up an AI-generated militarized encampment they can access on X at 24/7, and they'll settle down. They will know the difference.
But I mean, that would assume that Americans actually thought through the consequences of a policy that they're supporting. But when it comes to immigrants, they just want them out. They don't care about how it's going to affect them, even though it would affect them dramatically. If Trump were to obtain the Infinity Gauntlet and he Thanos snapped every single undocumented immigrant out of the country if he got elected on day one, that would have catastrophic consequences for the economy, the thing that Americans claim to care about the most, right? It would disrupt food supply because there's a lot of immigrants who work in agriculture. It would undercut the revenue to state governments and local governments since they pay taxes. It would affect the economy since the entire labor industry would be disrupted, since immigrants do jobs that Americans don't want to do. So it would affect them too. And I think that part of the people who support this know that, but they're still like, yeah, but fuck it, I just want them out. Okay, if you support this, then you reap what you sow, right? It wouldn't impact the Americans who wouldn't be deported the most, but it'd still affect them. But I think they're willing to accept that harm so long as the undesirables are out of the country.
Right, because they think it won't affect them. All these people who like have this like thought process, they don't think that it's going to affect them, but it will. Both Obama and Biden deported more people than Trump. True, actually, and Harris probably will too.
Undesirables, according to them. Because that's where we're at as a country. We're just
Obama was the deporter in chief, and Biden deported more in his tenure than Trump did. Yeah, food supply, elder care, child care, transportation, logistics. Yep. Trump wants to deport 20 million on day one. How's that going to work? It's not. It's not. The main difference is the rhetoric. Yeah, that's true. Trump's rhetoric inspires mass shootings. Indeed. Indeed.
It's cruel. We're demoralized. The economy isn't working. So we've decided that we're going to blame immigrants because Republicans said immigrants are bad. And after accepting the premise that immigrants are the cause of all of our problems, Americans are hot and bothered about the prospect of a Gestapo-like force knocking on doors to rip immigrants out of their homes and separate families when they've been here for years and they're basically Americans for all intents and purposes. Okay. I mean, I don't know how you respond to this. We have a proportion of the population that has gone completely fucking nuts since COVID. They're anti-vaccine, didn't even want to wear masks. You have a portion of the population that is voting for somebody who is basically admitting he's a fascist. He's not using the F word, but his own chief of staff, John Kelly, said the man...
Yeah, and all of these people are in the same camp. I'm just putting that out there. All these people are the same people, right? The Venn diagram is a circle. The Venn diagram of the people that Mike just described, that's just a circle, okay?
Is a fascist. And we all know he's a fascist. He tried to overthrow the last election and is already trying to undermine the current election that he's running in. And half the country's like, yeah, I'll take him. And it's not just something that we're seeing in the United States, to be clear. We're seeing this around the world. Global fascism is on the rise, and the fascists are working together. Now, this isn't happening because coincidentally everybody's like, hey, fascism is cool. This is the inevitable outcome when capitalism begins to break down. This is what happens. It always ends up turning into fascism. And we have a population that's primed and ready for a fascist takeover, not only supporting a fascist, but supporting mass deportations that would be incredibly violent, 47%. And even if Trump loses this election, we have to grapple with the reality that 47% of Americans, quite frankly, are fucked up human beings. They are fucked up people. And I'm tired of making excuses for them. I'm tired of trying to rationalize their dumb fuck beliefs. Take responsibility. If you think that rounding up immigrants and placing them in militarized camps is a-okay, fuck you. I don't want to share a country with you. I'd rather share a country with every single refugee and immigrant in the world than the 2,000 some odd people in this survey who said that rounding up immigrants and putting them in military fucking camps is okay. Fuck these people. And I don't know what to do with this information. Seeing this kind of broke me. It made me feel really depressed and hopeless, because if this is how far we've fallen, how do we dig ourselves out of this hole? It's only going to get worse. Do you think that the immigrant crisis, globally speaking, is going to slow down? It's going to ramp up thanks to climate change.
Right. We're doing the feedback loop, right? Because we're not addressing the fundamental root causes of any of these issues.
There are areas in the world that will be uninhabitable. So if it's already this bad, how is it going to be in 100 years?
Who freaking knows, but it's not good. All right, folks. I'm going to speed run through some of this because I got to get out of here. So this one we'll just do for like 5 seconds. So Trump has made a comment that he would fire Jack Smith within 2 seconds if he was elected. The only thing I have to say, like the real reason I wanted to bring this up, is because like this kind of highlights the reason why this guy is so desperate to win. Because he has to. He knows what's coming if he loses. This election. And it kind of gives away the game, at least partially anyways, as to why he's doing everything he can to win the election, right? This just broke a couple of hours ago. Trump is being sentenced at the end of November. Is that for the 30-plus convictions? He will resign and pardon within 6 months if he wins. If we get... Oh my goodness. I just realized, it just clicked what you said, the Ponder Monkey. If we get J.D. Vance as president... That's not good. This just happened a couple of hours ago. Arizona ballots have been damaged after USPS collection box set ablaze in Demleading County. Yeah, I could take a gander at who possibly could have engaged in this behavior. Arizona law enforcement officials are conducting an arson investigation after election ballots were damaged when a USPS mail collection box was burned in Maricopa County, a Democratic stronghold. Vance is just as nuts as Trump, is why Trump picked him. I mean, maybe, but I think he picked him because he's a good yes man, and Vance is just gonna play ball. I think that's probably the main reason. Like Vance actually is pretty fascistic. Vance is pretty fascistic, so it's really Vance who's benefiting from all of this. And Vance brought a lot of tech money with him too. It was Antifa. ABC 15 reported that crews responded to a USPS Osborne station around 1:30 a.m. on Thursday and found a mailbox collection on fire. A mail collection box on fire. Approximately 20 electoral ballots were damaged along with additional miscellaneous mail. said the Phoenix Fire Department. Thank goodness it was only 20. Phoenix Department's arson investigation task force has launched an investigation into this fire. Election officials say they do not have specifics about this incident. We are waiting for the details from law enforcement, said Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer. We encourage all voters who use that mailbox in the last 36 hours to check the status of their ballots. Successful delivery is usually reflected on that website within 72 hours. Voters should be aware that tomorrow, October 25th, is the last day to request a replacement ballot. If a voter believes they are impacted by this incident, they can learn how to make that request here. In 2020, President Biden defeated former President Trump in Maricopa by over 2 points. Everything they accuse the others of is really a confession. Correct. So we'll be keeping an eye out on this story. But I would wager that this was probably done by some right-wing Trumper election denier kind of person. I would wager money that we're gonna find out that this was some kind of right-wing dude. Can I just drop the ballot off to the mailbox, or does it have to be on one of those ballot stations? I think you can drop it off. I think you can mail your ballot in if it's a mail-in ballot. I think it's already like ready to go, or you can drop it off at the at a specific ballot box. Sometimes kids are just stupid punks. It could be that it might have been a prank. People just kids just setting a mail collection box on fire. But it would not surprise me if this was intentional. I've never used the track my ballot or QR thing yet. Honestly, me neither. I just kind of drop it off personally. So you may need to check the website based on your state. But personally, I just go. In fact, I'm going in person to do the early voting this Saturday. So you may need to check the website on your state because I've never actually used the QR code or tracking. I just go there and just do it. There's early voting. Wow, for at least for us, it's going on right now in Georgia. Pretty sure it wasn't a lucky cigarette, but I got confirmation within 3 hours of dropping mine off yesterday. There you go. So just check your state website or however that works. Georgia said they're hand counting ballots. I think they tried to make that a rule. I want to say that that's being contested, but they definitely tried to make that a rule. I can't remember if they were able to scrap that, because we went over a couple of these things with the new election commission in Georgia. They tried to make that a rule about hand counting. They also said that they also were fighting about how the election was going to be certified. So there was a couple of things that are in litigation right now. They try to contest it. There's a couple of things that are in litigation right now. I can't at this exact second, I can't remember if the hand counting rule is in effect or is going to be in effect, because I think the judge, they scrapped it. Thank you. I think the judge said that it was too close. Exactly where I was going, Michael Hasser. Thank you. The judge said it was too close to the election to apply this properly. So I think they put a pause on that. They scrapped it for now. I see. Yeah. Yep. But they tried. Suspect in shooting incident at Harris campaign office in Arizona was preparing for a mass casualty act. Another result of stochastic terrorism. They have hundreds of lawsuits queued up to deploy on election day to contest everything. I wouldn't doubt it, Cognizant. I wouldn't doubt it that these these conservative right-wing people are ready. A 60-year-old man suspected of shooting at a Democratic National Committee office over the last 2 months and hanging suspicious bags of white powder from political signs in a nearby village had over 120 guns and over 250,000 rounds of ammunition. Jesus Christ. In his home and was preparing for a mass casualty act, according to prosecutors. The suspect, identified as Jeffrey Kelly, was arrested late Tuesday yesterday in Maricopa County. Charges include unlawful discharge of a firearm, shooting at a non-residential structure, committing an act of terrorism, and misdemeanor criminal damage. Police said Wednesday that additional charges may be filed in connection with plastic bags containing a white powdery substance hung on political signs that Kelly is accused of posting and lining with razor blades in the village of Otwauke, where he lives. Yet another Trump follower, probably. Beyonce is going to sing at a Harris rally, and Bruce Springsteen is singing right now. Nice! 250,000 bullets and 120 guns isn't cheap. It is not. When he was arrested, Kelly had a machine gun and numerous guns in his car to potentially do something. The state and law enforcement believes this person was preparing to commit an act of mass casualty with the guns that he had, said Bhatia at Kelly's initial appearance at Superior Court, saying investigators also found multiple machine guns, loaded firearms, and silencers, long-range scopes, and body armor in his home. Bhatia asked for a $1 million cash bond. Ultimately, the judge settled on $500,000. I don't know when she's going to be there, but it was announced today. Gotcha. Asked why the county thought he was planning to commit an act of mass casualty, Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell said, without going into further detail into what we found, obviously those number of guns as well as the number of rounds are certainly a factor that you would consider. Police responded 3 times in 3 weeks to shots that were fired at the DNC office and that organizes and campaigns for Vice President Kamala Harris. The space is shared by staff members from Harris's campaign, staff members for the state Democratic Party, and campaigned for the House and Senate races or candidates. Police said that the office's front door and window were hit by a pellet or BB gun on September 16th, and that real bullets were fired on September 16th, and that real bullets were fired at the office a week later. Additional bullets were fired at the office on a third incident, October 6th, which is earlier this month. He could reload his guns 140 times, assuming the average clip size is 15. That kind of sounds more like arming a militia than a single event. Yeah, possibly. That's a good point. We're grateful for the work of the Temp Police Department and continue to cooperate with investigators, said Sean McGurney, the coordinated campaign manager for the Arizona Democratic Party. Jason Squires, an attorney for Kelly, described him as a retired aerospace engineer and a sportsman who had licenses to possess a variety of firearms, including a top-secret clearance through his employer until 2020. To kind of guess guilty at this stage is somewhat dangerous for a man who has absolutely no priors of anything. Prosecutors said that in addition to firearms, the search of Kelly's home turned up 2 license plates matching to those captured in a video from the 2 offenses, and video showed that a Toyota Highlander leaving the site where the offenses were committed that matched the one in Kelly's garage. Tempe's police chief, Kenneth McCoy, at a news conference on Wednesday said that the coordination with silent witnesses after a third incident helped identify Kelly as the suspect. Community members remembered Kelly from a 2022 incident in which he was accused of stealing Democratic signs using a vehicle that was tied to the recent incident. McCoy also acknowledged that the threat of political violence was just 13 days leading up to the general... McCoy also acknowledged the threat of political violence for just 13 days leading up to the election. Arizona's in the national spotlight, so all eyes are on us. I want to speak directly to those who would consider using political violence or intimidation to disrupt our upcoming election. We will hold you accountable and use every resource available to bring you to justice. Arizona is one of the critical battleground states that Harris and former President Trump are vying to win in the election. Yeah, thank goodness they got this guy off the street, no doubt about it, because either he was prepared to do something with enough damage with all those firearms, or as the simulacra actually pointed out, maybe with the intent of, say, arming a group of people. Who knows? Not until we get more details on this case, but very alarming. Very alarming nonetheless. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. We got through everything that I wanted to get through. Thank you guys. This Saturday, folks, if you want to join us on the Discord, we'll be playing The Nightmare Before Christmas. So hang out with us on the Discord if you wish. And on Halloween, by the way, on Halloween, we will be doing a spooky movie session. So join us for that if you want as well. If the police employ civil asset forfeiture, they would be fully supplied for about 22 days. Mouselander, thank you for holding it down on the YouTube. I appreciate it. Michael Oster, thank you for modding the chat. Thank you all for your support. You guys are what makes this channel go. I appreciate it, folks. We'll be back on Monday at around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Spread the word, folks, that this is the chillest place to be for the news, for the politics. Thank you all for your support. If you want to keep supporting the channel, there are a few ways to do so. By the way, up until October 31st, if you subscribe, you have a good weekend. Thank you. If you subscribe, you get Discord Nitro perks off of Twitch subscription. So if you are about that Discord life, consider checking that out. Also, consider checking out the merch store and hitting that exclamation mark tip if you want to tip your streamer directly. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday. Have a good weekend, everybody. If you're going to hang out with us on Saturday, then see you Saturday. Thank you all. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Have you on. I hope to see you guys in the next one Monday. See ya. All right, folks, hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.